Alright, so in this video we're checking out the new iFlight Defender 20 Lite. So this is a 2-inch Cinewhoop from the original Defender series from last year, which had the 03 air unit. This now has the 04 air unit, or also known as the 04 Lite. Now, for those of you that are thinking about getting into FPV, you're a beginner, you don't have any equipment, no experience, and you want to get into FPV, this is probably one of the few bind and fly drones I recommend right now as of March 2025. I'll have another video explaining why there's probably not a whole lot I recommend right now at this time for those of you that want to get into FPV. And if you want to sort of start out and get a system going, because there are no like ready to fly kits currently right now for DJI 04, I would recommend getting the goggles N3 from DJI. This is $229, and then the Radio Master Pocket, which is I think $64. Not 100% sure on the pricing on this yet, because this is a pre-production model. They haven't given me all the details at the time of the recording of this video, but check the link in the description and there'll be obviously the price on the product page. But yeah, right now, as of March of 2025, if you're a casual flyer, you're not really thinking about sort of the niche market of like either racing or something, other specific things like long range, for example, this is a nice setup for those of you who are just doing casual flying, want to get nice, good 4K footage for a reasonable price. I think something like this is probably going to run like $500 to $600 total for everything here. Just my guess. Again, check the price in the description for this. And if you are a beginner pilot and you're interested in seeing a video on how to sort of bind all this stuff together, let me know in the comments that you're interested in that, and I will make a follow-up video to this one over on my second channel on how to put all this together, and then I'll reply to the people that are interested in this and with a link to that video once it comes out, if there's enough interest. So if you're a new pilot, you're just trying to get into FPV, I would recommend not going analog. I know a lot of people say you should try analog or perhaps try tiny whips, and I think that's one way to go. There's definitely nothing wrong with that one, but I think eventually you're going to want to go to digital, and this is the one to go with. And this is the nice setup that I would go with right now for March of 2025. So I will have a separate video if there's enough people that are interested in there. If you are a beginner pilot, let me know in the comments below, and I will have a full setup guide for that. But if there's not enough interest, then I probably won't make that video. But I'm thinking, over time, there's probably going to be interest for something like this, and because there are no ready to fly kits right now. So for my regular viewers, something like this is probably not going to be that interesting to you, because you are not going to like the proprietary battery. So they have gone again, as with the original Defender series, with these slide-in batteries and these proprietary chargers. Now, I think this is fine for people that are just starting out. They don't necessarily want to learn all the ins and outs of chargers and what kind of batteries they need to get. This sort of fixes them into this ecosystem, and you have, these are the batteries you get, and that's what you get, and it's what you use. You charge it on those. They charge very easily via USB-C. This is the 3-in-1 charger that, this was a sample that was sent. If you buy the bind and fly, it will not come with that. It will come with a standard 1 battery charger and 1 battery. But obviously, this will be a add-on or accessory you can buy if you want to charge 3 at a time. These will take up to power delivery 100 watts. So if you have a 100 watt charger, you can charge up 3 at a pretty fast rate. I think 30 minutes for 3 batteries. And then if you have the single battery charger, which I do not have, unfortunately, they're going to send that to me, but I didn't make it in time for this video. I'll charge 1 battery at a time at 60 watts, and you'll need at least a 60 watt power delivery USB-C charger. That'll charge this battery in about 30 minutes. So this is a 2S 600 milliamp hour, I believe. Yeah, 8.4 volts, 7.4 volts here. And it is 600 milliamp hours. So the flight time on this one, I got about 5.5 minutes, but I was flying in outdoor, fairly windy conditions, and that does reduce your flight time. They're advertising about a 6.5 to 7.5 minute flight time on this battery, basically full to completely empty and in very controlled, calm conditions. So they probably just did a hover test indoors with no wind. So realistic flight times, I think, is going to be more around like 5.5 to 6 minutes on this battery. So if you need more flight time, if you don't feel that's enough for you, want to get more practice, I would highly recommend buying extras of these batteries. So again, the advantage of having a battery like this is that it's very simple to use. Plug it in, charge, wait for the light to turn green, and you're good to go. And it's just slide it in, turns on. Not a whole lot to think about. If you're a beginner, I think this is not a bad way to go. Obviously, if you're a more experienced pilot, we have a lot of batteries. This is not a ideal solution for you because you are basically stuck with this battery, and you can't use a variety of different batteries. So in that case, obviously, there's going to be other choices for you guys out there that I would recommend over this one if you are not into the proprietary batteries. Okay, so that being said, let's get into the specs here. 1103 14,000 kV motors. I think this was also on the Defender 20 with the 03 as well. Carbon fiber plate here. The motor to motor distance is 87 millimeters, and these are injection molded prop guards, and they are quick release. So there's, I think, just 4 screws here, and then you can pop this off and get inside. And the all-in-one flight controller in here is called the Blitz Whoop All-in-One F411. I believe it's a 20 amp 8-bit ESC, so Blue Jay firmware, 48 kilohertz, and I think it's 20 amps to bursting 25 amps, and has a BMI gyro. Obviously the VTX on here is the DJI 04, or also known as the 04 Lite, as you can see here, and that is on the bottom here in this little section. So there's little you can kind of see where it lands here and little rubber feet. So it's not necessarily landing on the flight controller or the air unit, but there's a plastic base here and some feet that's landing on. But obviously you don't want to be landing in puddles of water. That's going to fry everything here. So stay away from water. This is not waterproof. And then you have a little port here for the USB-C to access the onboard memory. It's like 23 gigabytes for the 04 air unit. And yeah, so basically, if you missed my review video on the 04 air unit and the air unit Lite, I'll link that down in the video description as well as a playlist to all my 04 videos. If you want more details about the 04 air unit, but basically, it's 4K video. You can gyroflow stabilize it, and it's very nice. And this is another reason why I recommend this model is that they have properly done the camera mounting so that there's virtually no jello. I was flying in wind, pretty aggressive flying, and as far as I can tell, you can look at the footage yourself and judge for yourself. Probably some of the best footage I've gotten out of an 04 air unit because it's been properly mounted. So you have these rubber balls here and this little plate here that the camera is attached to. So you can see that I can move this around. There's a third one that's buried inside there you can't see. So there's 3 of these rubber balls that are holding the camera in place. And it's much better than the Beta FPV setup. Those rubber balls are smaller and pretty much too soft, so the camera moves around too much. This actually keeps the camera from moving around, so you don't get that jello and vibration, but it's enough to dampen the vibrations from the frame and the motor, so you don't get any of that motor vibration coming from the quad. And that's why the Beta FPV mounting system is, I guess, inferior, because the wind and your movements actually move the camera around because those rubber balls are actually too weak. So that's why this one is the first one that I've seen that actually takes care of the problem correctly. A lot of the ones that came out earlier, Sub 250 and Beta FPV, I think they kind of rushed things to the market a little bit too quickly. And so you're seeing a lot of people that bought those models, they are having a lot of jello issues with this particular air unit. So that's why I think it was a good thing that iFlight, this is their first 04 air unit model, and they've sort of taken their time. They did several different iterations of the camera mounting. I think they finally nailed it on this one. This is why I recommend this one for those of you that are interested in the 04 air unit. Oh, so the props on here are 40 millimeter props, but they are not GemFan or HQ props. These are actually made by iFlight. So if you're interested in getting more props of this size, you should probably buy them when you buy the quad. Again, check the link in the description. There'll be a link to props on the product page as well. I would recommend getting spares. Didn't really crash this too much. The prop guards did a pretty decent job. They're fairly stiff. So unless you're crashing really hard, you're probably not going to break this. It's I'm not really sure what material this is exactly, but it has some flexibility to it and some give, but it is fairly stiff as well. So I think it's a good combination, and I think that only in a really hard crash you would probably break this, and then of course at that point you're probably going to break a prop. It does come with a spare. Well, it should come with a spare set of props. Mine did, even as a pre-production unit, but you should probably pick up a few just in case you are more crash prone, but I think this should be okay. My only concern is, as a beginner, if you're landing very hard on here, I would recommend like getting a landing pad and not just landing on the concrete, because beginners tend to disarm a little bit too high, and that will put stress on the area there, even though it is fairly well protected. I would recommend as a beginner to get a landing pad, something soft, or land in grass so that you don't damage the area or the flight controller, which is contained here in the bottom. All right, so here's how much it weighs. It's 60.5 grams, and then with the battery, it is 108 grams. So yeah, this is the only battery available for this one at the time of the recording of this video. I don't know if they have plans to make a larger battery, but as you can see here, the way it fits, there's some rubber padding here to give some grip, and then there's a clip here to hold it in place, and then all you do is just slide it in. There's a little bit of friction there, and that kind of holds it in place, and it is pretty much the size of the battery, and you just push it in, and then it just turns on. You hear the beeps, and that's it. You're powered up. Obviously, you want to turn on your radio and have your goggles turned, of course. And then this little clip here does hold it in place. It does not come out. Obviously, to get it out, you just press the little button here and pull, and it'll come out. And you can see the. I'll show you the clip here. It does work pretty well. So that's how it works. It's very simple to basically operate. That's kind of the reason. Another reason why I would recommend this as a model to get if you are going to go into DJI 04 as a new pilot. The battery situation is very simple. Not a lot going on there. Not a lot to learn. You have to learn about chargers and that kind of stuff. You just basically take this, plug this into your charger. It's got to be a 60 watt or 100 watt charger, and then plug that in, and you wait for the light to turn solid green, and then you're charged up, and then you go and fly. Last thing to note here that I forgot to mention, there's a little cover here for the USB-C port, and this will access your Betaflight controller or Betaflight flight controller settings, and obviously you want to get in there to maybe put your binding phrase for your Express LRS controller, and I would recommend getting an Express LRS controller versus a DJI controller. It does come out of the box configured for Express LRS, and I believe that's the only way it's sold. Now, I believe you can modify it to use the DJI controller, but it's not easy and not recommended, because they're not selling a version of this with DJI S-Bus enabled. You're going to have to open it up and fiddle around with it and take the Express LRS receiver up possibly, which happens to be right there under there, as you can see, and it has the little ceramic tower antenna. So obviously you're not going to be, this is not really going to be for long range. So if you're looking for long range flights, don't get this one. This is, you're going to be able to fly for 5.5, 6 minutes tops. You're not going to get that far. And then you see the video transmitter antenna is back here. Obviously not the best location for that either. So again, for those of you that are interested in like long range flights, don't get this one. But anyway, you do have the option to change some settings in Betaflight here. I would recommend do not flash a new version of Betaflight in here, because it does come with a PID tune. It's perfect. No need to change it. No need to flash any ESC firmware. It's perfect. Everything we're on here out of the box is exactly the way it should be. So if, again, as a beginner, I urge you, do not alter the firmware in any way. I believe, I've heard rumors, I'm not sure, 100% sure about this one, but I believe all the manufacturers are going to now void your warranties if you start flashing Betaflight. So I'm going to keep repeating these into all my videos into the future. As a beginner, do not flash Betaflight, because if you make a mistake and then basically render this useless, your warranty is probably going to be void, and you can't, the manufacturer's probably not going to help you, and you're pretty much totally hosed. So just don't do it. Yeah, you probably hear stuff all over the internet. You should be flashing Betaflight and ESC firmware, that's not going to be for you. For you beginners, if you don't know how to reverse all that stuff and do it on your own, don't do it. Everything out of the box is going to be perfect. You just have to make a few minor adjustments to the settings, but don't flash any firmware. Anyway, okay, so I think that's going to do it for this video. I will link the full 4K flights and the goggle footage down in the video description if you guys want to check all that stuff out. And links will be down in the video description for this and some of the other videos I made, I mentioned, as well as the goggles and the radio, if you're interested in putting this together. And again, if you want to have a video, if you want me to make a video on how to set all this up, put it together, it's actually not that difficult, but obviously for you first timers, you're probably, don't even know where to start. So if you're one of those guys, let me know. And if there's enough interest, I'll make a video on my second channel for that. That'll do it for this one. Talk to you guys in the next video.